Hey everybody, Adam Savage here in my cave to talk to you about some of my favorite things. Every year on Tested, at the end of the year, the whole Tested staff puts together lists of their favorite things and we each shoot videos about them. This year we're doing it way earlier than normal and well, it's because we've had a rough year. Yeah, as we get ready to put a cap on 2020, and man, the whole world is so grateful we're about to put an end to this terrible, godforsaken, awful mess of a year. We need to be sharing lists of our favorite things more than ever. And here is mine. And the first item I want to talk about my favorite things this year is actually an item that helps me escape from reality. And it's this. It's the Oculus Quest 2. Look, this thing is... all the advertising about this thing, all the articles you've read about it are absolutely right. Oculus One felt like a prototype. This feels like the real product. The Oculus 2 is better resolution, better motion tracking. Everything about using it is better than its predecessor, and I'm addicted to this thing. I particularly still love Super Hot and Pistol Whip, but I've added to that Tetris Effect. Tetris Effect is great. But even better than Tetris Effect is Cubism. It is, I don't normally love puzzle games, but Cubism has a beauty and a simplicity to it that just, it makes my brain feel like it's having its first cup of coffee in the morning. It kind of wakes me up. It is great. Look, I still think this technology is in its nascent stage. I still think there's a whole universe of possibility out there for both VR and AR. But if you're wondering about jumping into it, the Quest 2. Plus, if you buy the Quest 2, well, you've got a whole season of builds from Tested on Oculus and maybe another season coming. Absolutely. We're making our own content for this because I personally have never found a format in which watching someone make something feels more intimate and immediate than in VR. That is my, oh, right. I went and got grips for the controllers, and I really dig these silicone grips. We'll include a link in the comments below for all of these things. But these are great. The battery life on the controllers, dude, a sea change from its predecessor. They last way longer and they're awesome. And I also purchased a terrific pair of headphones from AMVR. And these are custom made for the Oculus. The Oculus 2 has only one headphone port, whereas the Oculus One had two. So this is a pair of headphones made specifically for the Oculus, with one for the left ear and a longer one for the right ear. Yeah, this makes the aural, A-U-R-A-L, aural experience of using the Oculus way, way better. All right, that's my first favorite thing. The next item on my list of favorite things is a funny one because we usually provide links for all the things that we talk about here, and this one we're going to include a link, but it's not actually to the supplier, it's to a subcontracted supplier. Okay, look, what would the world be without Velcro? This is an unbelievable invention. It is long stated that it was invented as part of the Moon program. I don't believe that's actually true. But the hooks and loops of Velcro make so much possible. However, there are limitations to Velcro. And I'm not talking about its tensile strength. I'm talking about its profile. If you look at these two pieces of normal, unsticky Velcro, they create a piece that is about, I'd say it's just about 100 thousandths thick. That's slightly less than 1/8 of an inch, about 20 sheets of paper stacked on top of each other, 25 sheets of paper. There are many costuming applications in which that is way too much of what do you call it? Of an obstacle for the smoothness of a costume. And this year I found out about a new kind of Velcro, which I think is called Ultra Velcro. So here is a piece, and I'm just going to cut a little piece of it here. So this is the loop, and I'm going to, for reference, I'm just going to show you the two pieces here. You can see, while this piece has some dimensionality, this piece has almost no dimensionality. if anything, it is about 6 or 7 thousandths thick. It is a very, very lightweight, very almost gossamer piece of Velcro loop. And here is the Velcro hook. It doesn't even feel like it's got hooks. And again, it is only a few thousandths thick, but when I put these two together, dude, they create oh, yeah. It's really strong. This stuff is not only super strong, but it is crazy thin. And for reference, it is not only super strong, it's crazy thin. And for reference, I'm gonna show it to you next to a piece of regular non-sticky Velcro so you can see the comparison. The number of opportunities this opens up. We've all been attaching our 3D printed mask parts using magnets because Velcro would be way too dimensional for 2 helmet parts. But Ultra Velcro? Yeah, dude, I want to figure out who's making this stuff. Unfortunately, I haven't yet surmised the manufacturer. So the link we're including will be to a Etsy seller who sells this under the name Ultra Hook and Ultra Loop. I have not been able to surmise the actual manufacturer they're buying it from yet, but as soon as I do, you will know about it. Yeah, super thin Velcro. I'm as surprised as you are that this is one of my favorite things this year. One last thing, if you are in fact the manufacturer of this super thin Velcro, please get in touch with me through some of the links below. I'd love to buy a bunch from you. All right, on to the next item. The next item on my list is actually 2 items. I'm joining them together because they are both television shows. They could not be more different. But let's start with the first one. This helmet might have given you a hint. This is the Mandalorian show on Disney Plus, created by Jon Favreau, produced by Jon and Dave Filoni. 2 of my heroes, 2 of the best narrative storytellers going today. And look, the Star Wars universe right now is full of controversy. Episodes 7, 8, and 9 have their lovers and the haters, but man, there's just an endless amount of discussion of what should and shouldn't be in them, and it's exhausting. None of that exhaustion occurs with this beautiful show. As I record this, we're right in the middle of the 2nd season, and every episode just feels like it opens up whole new universes of information about the Star Wars universe. It's both episodic, but it's also epic in its scope, and the wonderful actors they're bringing in, from Timothy Oliphant to Katie Sackhoff, Amy Sedaris. Oh my God, I'm going to forget everyone. But this show is just like every single week, I eagerly await the next episode, cannot wait to watch it, and it always exceeds my expectations. It is the kind of scrappy production. I know it's Disney Plus funding this production, but it still in many ways is exactly the right amount of scrappy. They're doing almost all their shooting indoors using this amazing advancement in film technology called the volume, which itself is evolving from season to season as they perfect and understand what they have built, and still finding out what its extent parameters are. And so much of it comes down to the incredible performance of the lead actor, Pedro Pascal. If you're wondering who that is, he was one of the cowboys from the second Kingsman film. Yes, amazing charisma. And it takes an actor with that kind of charisma to make a performance like this work, where 99% of the performance is hiding behind a mask. I think of Dread 3D with Carl Urban as a great precursor to this type of performance, because Carl anchors that whole film without ever showing his face, and you never feel like you're missing anything. And similarly with Pedro's great physical performance as Mando and beautiful voice work, it's a fully realized character, and you almost never see his face, and that's an incredible accomplishment. Mandalorian currently, and I think forever, holds a really special place in my heart in the Star Wars universe. 30-minute episodic Star Wars movies? Who knew? It is a good time, in this case, to be alive. I would be remiss if I didn't pause here to also give a shout out to Pedro Pascal's stunt team. He is not the only person wearing the costume. And the fact that I can't tell ever who might be wearing the costume, because the walk always works, and they do some pretty impressive stunts in that full suit of armor, which is non-trivial for a stunt person. So huge shout out to Pedro Pascal's entire stunt team. They're doing beautiful work helping fill out the character of the Mandalorian. The other television show, again, could not be more different. It's about a Kansas football coach flown to England to coach Premier League soccer. It's called Ted Lasso, and it was developed and stars Jason Sudeikis. It was developed by and stars Jason Sudeikis, along with some other, with a murderer's row of television producers and comedians and writers and directors. There are 10 episodes. They are 30 minutes each. And I love this show like I have not loved many shows in the world, specifically for what it says about human beings. It believes, Ted Lasso, the show, believes in the essential goodness of almost all human beings and of our ability to bring out the best in each other. It is an incredibly loving show. It's got some great drama, but it also subverts almost every trope of a sitcom. Every time you meet a new character, you make a judgment about them and the kind of role they're going to play in the show, and you're going to be wrong every single time. It's thrilling. It shows people being at their best, bringing out the best in others, and it's not full of bombast. It's not full of pyrotechnics, either emotionally or actually. In a way, the emotional leaps that each character makes through the course of the first season, which is all that we have so far, feels almost akin to like a Mike Leigh film, like an early Mike Leigh film, in which you just watch people go through the grind of their lives and maybe make one tiny shift that makes their lives a little better. That's the kind of thing you're watching here. It's such a great show. I watched the entire thing in one night about a month ago, and I watched the entire thing over 3 nights last week. And I seriously am ready to start watching it right all over again. I've downloaded the soundtrack album of all the music from the show because Mumford of Mumford & Sons is the music supervisor and wrote some songs for the show. Yeah, Mandalorian and Ted Lasso, whichever one you haven't watched, and if it's both, man, you are so welcome. The next item on my list is a book. It is a book by a colleague in many different senses of the word. It is 99% Invisible City by Roman Mars and Kirk Kolstad. If you're not familiar with the podcast, 99% Invisible, I will tell you that during this terrible, difficult, no good, very bad year, 99% Invisible, the podcast, has been one of my safe spaces. It's where I can go to listen to wonderful, onion-peeling, deep rabbit hole dives into weirdly specific ideas and thought processes and inventions. And most of it has nothing to do with politics. I need my politics in bulleted formats these days. I can go engage with it for periods of time, and then I really need lots of palate cleansers. And that's where shows like 99PI come in. It's produced here in the Bay Area in, as Roman likes to say on every podcast, beautiful downtown Oakland, California. Roman also possesses one of the more beautiful voices in radio or podcasting. I'm conflating them because they've kind of co-joined at this point. And the book that he and his longtime 99PI member, Kirk Kolstad, is a compendium of some of their podcasts and some new material, but it is always doing the same thing that the podcast does, which it takes something like the white lines in a road and takes you all the way through how they came to be the way they are. The first people that started to look at making dividers in two-way roads, which was not an automatic thing, it turns out. Of course not. We were inventing cars and roads at the same time. Of course, the idea of how traffic signs came to be is got to be a riveting story, and it turns out it totally is. The book also includes some stories that they weren't able to tell in the podcast because they require so much visual aid in order to tell the story. Uh, I love it when people who I admire break out into other mediums to tell the stories that they are so good at telling. And 99% Invisible City, which is all about the things that make a city, from the roads to the signs to the buildings to the, oh, I love this term, desire paths. This is a term, this is like the first really cool term I learned about while listening to 99% Invisible. Uh, Cities make parks, they make things, they make sidewalks and stuff, and they expect people to walk in certain patterns. However, people don't always walk in the patterns that they were expected to. And on college campuses, you'll often notice across the quadrangle, there might be diagonal paths that people have worn just taking the standard shortcut, the same shortcut, every single one, until they make their own path. And that path has a term, and it's called a desire path. That's the kind of stuff that you will drill all the way down into while listening to 99% Invisible or reading their new, beautiful, amazing book. Go get it. Links are below. You're welcome. A key and vital piece of equipment in almost every maker's workshop in the making of physical things is what's known as a rotary tool. The most famous one is the Dremel. Everyone's heard of a Dremel. The most expensive one, I think, is the Fordham, which we used to refer to as the $1,000 Dremel. However, a new rotary tool has stolen my heart, and it is made by Proxxon, Proxxon. This is a European company, as you can tell from these very Euro colors, this wonderful terrapin green and this wonderful mustard yellow taupe. It's even hard to say. I love this tool. I love how lightweight the cord is. It's actually running on a modified DC signal. The power pack that it comes with allows speed adjustment of the business end. It does not go as fast as the Dremel, which I think can spin up to 20,000 RPM. But I'm here to tell you I've almost never ever used the Dremel way up at the top end of its speed range. I use it almost all in the lower third, in the bottom third. And that's where the Proxxon pretty much lives. So, I mean, that can't be more than a 300 or 400 RPM. The Proxxon allows me a level of gentleness with using it that I was never able to kind of thread the needle with my Dremel. I still have 2 or 3 Dremels in the shop. I still use them. But this one, like I said, it has stolen my heart. And what is the proof that it has stolen my heart? That I put magnets on the back of its power supply and the unit itself so it can live right here on the workbench. I use it frequently enough that this is where it lives for me. I don't think I need any more encomium than that. I don't ever want this thing more than 4 feet from me. Yeah, it's a little spendier than your standard baseline Dremel, but for me, for the work that I do, totally worth it. The next item on my list is a sewing machine. I've been sewing since, wait a second, since 7th grade. And in 7th grade, I was 12 years old, which means that was 1979. That's how long I have been sewing, for 41 years. I have owned 3 sewing machines in my time. My first one was a Pfaff. My second one was a Janome. My third sewing machine, well, it might just be my last. This right here is a Sailrite LSZ-1. Within making things and within the collection of tools, you frequently end up finding a gap between light-duty tools and their professional counterparts. And there's often this big gulf between those two things. Like the light-duty sewing that you could do with a $150 sewing machine, that same machine won't allow you to do heavy canvas or leather sewing. And frequently, the machine that takes you to be doing that heavy-duty work costs a ton. Industrial walking foot sewing machines are usually well over $1,000 and can run into the thousands depending on how you have them set up. Sailrite has released the LSZ1, which is meant to be a portable machine that if you live on a boat, this is the machine you would keep on the boat for making and repairing your own sails. As such, it is an industrial, beefy as hell, walking foot sewing machine that does 2 stitches. It does a straight stitch like every other walking foot machine, but it also does a zigzag because it's built for sails. And that makes it maybe the ultimate cosplayer's sewing machine. With a base price at just over about $700 for the base machine, it is cheaper than almost any other option I've come across out there. And I've been using this one for a few months now, and I was excited when my friend Anthony Kovacs told me this thing existed, and Ryan Nagata also uses one. I was excited when I got it. I'm even more excited about using it now, months in, than I was when I first got it, because I have yet to throw something at this machine that it can't handle. And I've sewn up to a 1/4 inch thick leather on it. Yeah, this thing, I think it's going to be the last sewing machine I ever own. The last item on my list is a repeat from last year with a slight modification. Last year, one of my favorite things was an organization called the Center for Policing Equity, and I talked about what they do, which is data science for justice. I'm here to tell you that they're also on my list of favorite things this year, but this year I now sit on their board of directors. I was asked to by the founder, Philip Atiba Goff, and on that board, which I feel totally unqualified to sit on, I have met some of the most amazing human beings. And CPE is out there every day working with police departments across the country. And the methodologies and data and policies that they are using to work with those police agencies is leading to less violence, less anger, and better relationships between police and the communities that they serve. And I'm very grateful to be a small part of the solution. CPE will include links below so you can donate, and you should. They are an amazing organization. And how do you not love a place with data science for justice is their marching phrase. Thank you guys for joining me for my favorite things 2020. I have to say, this was a tough year to come up with favorite things for all the obvious reasons. I hope that you are safe. I hope that your loved ones and your friends and family and neighbors are safe. I hope that you are wearing a mask. It is not a political statement. It is almost an emotional and human statement. I love you guys. Be safe, be well, and I'll see you in 2021. Thank you so much for watching that video. If you'd like to further support us on Tested, there are many ways you can do so. One is through paid membership, and there are several tiers of that, each with their own set of unique bonuses. You can follow the links below for that, or you can go to our merch store where we are always coming up with brand new products. In honor of the holidays, we've got our Tested Ugly sweater in both black and we have a white one. We have some brand new patches, and this is a particular type that I made a joke about one day, and now it's a reality. You know, merit badges. When you're a Cub Scout or a Boy Scout, you get a merit badge for achieving something. Well, Tested now has demerit badges for when you screw something up, because that's just as important in learning as getting something right. So this is the badge for when you measure something once and have to cut it twice. This is the badge for when you accidentally hook up your electronics wrong and you release the mysterious blue smoke that powers them and they no longer work. And this one here is for when you get your finger caught in the lathe and it almost gets torn off. That might be quite me specific. I hope that never happens to you. These are all designed by Tested's own Jen Schachter, and they are not the only patches we're going to release. In fact, these are just the beginning. If you have ideas for demerit badges that we should release, we'd love to hear them. We also still have our regular complement of posters, and they're all back in stock, including my hand-drawn toolboxes. I love seeing pictures you guys send us of these hanging in your maker spaces and your offices, your man caves, and your sheds around the world. Get to the store, follow the links below, and hey, some of these might make great Christmas presents for the makers in your life. Thanks, you guys. Happy holidays.